What's up, Internet? This is Jay from Community of Ideas, and I wanted to talk about the Avengers PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and I believe PC. That technically comes out Friday, but if you have early access, it came out today. This is kind of my first impression of the game, the good, the bad, what some people may have think about this game, and I certainly did because of what I was told, and just to kind of give you a little glimpse into whether it's worth purchasing or not. So first off, I want to say if you weren't familiar with the game, there is a lot more to it than just a simple campaign. You play, kind of the Spider-Man game, if you will. This game is incredibly deep. I can only say so much considering I've only been playing for about 4 or 5 hours, but it's definitely set itself up to be very in depth. Um, there's a ton of upgrades, customizations, working on builds. Think along the lines of Diablo or uh, Borderlands, something of that nature. And it definitely leads to that. In fact, there is a mode for people to to play once they've beaten the game. It's kind of a post-campaign mode, multiplayer, where you just go look for loot. And I'm guessing most of the missions there are probably the missions you've done in game. And I know that there's been talk about expanding that even. And with new characters comes new scenarios and so on and so forth. So it's far more deeper than it sounds like, or at least it seemed. One thing I have heard about the game is, as many talk about the negatives, as they often do, one of the big negatives I heard was that, well, to understand the story, you have to get these comic books that were released. Um, I think a little while ago. I'm not exactly sure when they were released, but apparently they give the whole backstory of what's going on in the game, and without them, you don't really know what's going on. Well, that's not true at all. The story is done really well. I would say I'm not a huge Marvel fan, um, but it's quite compelling to me. I'm pleased with the campaign. I care why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's been it's been really solid. I'll say that. Also, I've heard it was really short. The campaign goes for 10 to 15 hours, and it might. But I can tell you, at about 4 hours, I'm only 10% through the campaign. I do spend some time going around the stage looking for loot and just kind of altogether taking it all in, but still, it doesn't seem like anyway at 4 hours that I'm anywhere near the end. Um, most of what I'll say about the game is honestly positives, and I wasn't really sure. I was really on the fence about getting this game. I again did not know how deep the game is, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people who do and who have researched that more than I have. Uh, the I would honestly say the only bad things that I found about the game are just some of the controls, some of the gameplay mechanics, so to speak. So far in the game, campaign itself, I should say, instead of game, but so far in the campaign, you play as Kamala Khan and Bruce Banner or Hulk, and I know that that switches off later on. I've seen footage of other characters, and those two play really well. I haven't had a problem with any of them. In fact, it's really fun to just smash things up as the Hulk. And even Kamala Khan, a character who I'm not really familiar with, it's really, really fun to play with as well. Uh, Early on in the game, though, there is a and it's playable from the beta as well. But you play as all the Avengers for just a little snippet of time, and playing as Iron Man in the beta, it felt really wonky and kind of just a pain in the butt. Well, it didn't seem like they fixed it in the final version of the game. There was concerns with that with Thor as well, but Thor actually turned out to be really well. Iron Man still is not a very receptive character. Um, the other issue I would say as far as the actual gameplay is there's maybe a little bit of tweaking they need to do because the I don't want to ruin anything for anyone, but there's a certain enemy that has to be you have to basically throw projectiles at this enemy. And with Hulk, you can sit there and throw a projectile at an enemy, and it takes like 10% of its life. And it's not a hard enemy. It's a regular enemy that you just run into many of them. And this whole process ends up taking 2 to 3 minutes. I don't know. It just needs to be tweaked a little bit. That's all I'm saying. And maybe it's meant to be something that you have to upgrade your ability to throw items. And again, I can't really say too much about it. It was just kind of annoying. Outside of that, again, the game is really fun. Um, uh, it's really difficult. I have died many times, uh, but it's also rewarding in that as well. The other things I've heard about it too, as were major cons for a lot of people, would seem to be that you have to pay for cosmetics in the game. Later on, when you're playing the multiplayer and you have a build or a character that you really like working with, to change some of their outfits and things like that, they're only purchasable. I don't know how true that is. I imagine it probably is to an extent, as in almost all of these games are that way. I'm not saying it's right, it's just the way it is. But so far in the campaign, I did unlock something called the Heroes Challenges, where they had one of the rewards to doing these Heroes Challenges was customizable cosmetic equipment. So maybe it's not as in-app purchase as much as what they say it is. Again, I don't know. It's hard to guess on that. With almost all of them like that, it definitely seems to be they're all there is some stuff that you just have to buy, and maybe for some people that's a real problem. For me, it's not. I kind of, I'm not too particular about what my character looks like. Now, if they, the only version of Hulk you could have was him like in a fuzzy bunny suit, then okay, I get it. But if they get the character pretty close to what they originally look like, I don't really see a problem with paying to change the cosmetics of the character. The other thing too that I do want to touch on real quick about the game is the multiplayer aspect of it, and you can add people into your campaign as well. I just recently unlocked that, where you start the kind of missions that you do throughout the campaign. You can add people to help you, and I think that also, from what I saw, and I'm not sure, but it looks like that actually helps you get more items. But I also don't think it penalizes you either. It's something you do to customize and to really build up your character. We'll talk about DLC a little bit. There's not a lot known about it, but it does also look like that's something that some of it is going to be free. A lot of the characters are going to be free to play. Again, it's just their cosmetics that are going to cost money. Honestly, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's quite a bit to ask. Um, to say that you want everything free, or at least in that area, considering even games like Borderlands and Diablo, and they all have either DLC or there's other paywalls you're kind of behind. So I'm not going to fault the game for any of that, like a lot of people have. Um, the only other thing I can really say about the game is the price, and for a lot of people that is going to be an issue. It's not cheap, $60, or if you want to get it early, that $70 price tag on PlayStation, especially if it's just not your style, or if it's something you're kind of on the fence of, like I was. Maybe you wait, and that's what I would say. Especially if you're not really sure, you don't really like. Honestly, I would say the Borderlands adventure style games. Then I probably wouldn't get it. It probably won't be up your alley, or just wait till it's on sale. But if it does look like something that you're going to be interested in, and remember, as far as big titles, this is kind of the last one for this year. Now, there's most likely going to be a few other games coming out, but it looks like most of them are geared up for the next generation. And so you're going to have plenty of time, I'm sure, to get this game at a discounted price. I think around November, when they're trying to really move a lot of stock and get prices or get sales going, yeah, you're probably going to find a good deal on it. But again, if you got the if you got the income and you're, I don't know, kind of bored, haven't found a good game, I would get it. I think it's worth it. I think it's going to be a game that's going to play out for a long time. One other thing that I will mention, one downside, and it's only a downside because I heard the opposite. The load screens take forever. And again, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but I had heard that there was like almost no load screens to it. It was very quick, it was fast, and you were like if you die, you're going to be back into that stage in a matter of seconds. I have not experienced that, and it's not something it's not like a make or break deal, but it is kind of annoying how long they are, especially because it's how often you die. And I mean, even the stupid ways. Because one other thing about the gameplay I will say is the controls. When you're kind of platforming, if you will, they're not. They're more difficult. That's all I'll say. Again, it's not something that's bothersome, so to speak, but you will fall. You're not gonna. There's certain games like Tomb Raider where you're able to jump place to place to place and you won't die. This is not that case. You will miss a jump location and you will fall and die. It's just what happens in the game. But anyway, I hope this is kind of helpful. I'm going to do another video after I've had a few more days on it. I just wanted to kind of give people kind of my first impression, especially people like myself who are constantly researching if I should buy a game or not. This is, uh, you know, my early impression. And again, like I said, I think if even if you're somewhat thinking about it and you have the funds, it's something that's not an issue for you, I would get it. Definitely. I think you're going to enjoy it. I think it's really going to be a game that's going to last for quite a long time. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Take care.